Berochim Abayim, and welcome to Torah Talks Chazaq's Tuesday night program with special guests. Tonight we have with us Rabbi Yehuda Brog from Monsey. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. How are you doing?
Baruch Hashem. It's a great day to be alive.
Chazdei Hashem. Every day is a great day. And today's actually a very special day, being that it's the yard site of your very, very illustrious grandfather, world-renowned Rav Avigdor Miller Zatzal. And tonight we're going to be talking about the life and legacy of Rav Avigdor Miller. But before we jump to tonight's important topic about the life of such a big tzaddik, if the rabbi could give a little background about yourself and the great work you're involved with.
I'm part of Yeshiva G'dolei Beis Yisrael. Yeshiva G'dolei Beis Yisrael was started in 1981 or 82, together with my grandfather, Rabbi Avigdor, and his son, Rabbi Shmuel Miller. Shmuel was the Rosh Yeshiva, and Rabbi Avigdor was the Menahel Ruchani. As Menahel Ruchani, he came to Yeshiva every day. He spent time in the Yeshiva. The Yeshiva was first located on Avenue P and East 17th Street, and he would come every day he'd walk. That was his walk from Ocean Parkway and Avenue R to P and 17th. And he would learn Musa in the Yeshiva, and he would give Adim. Shabbos, the boys would eat by his house. He got a lot of kiruv to the Bochum, was close to the boys in that kufa. Remember fondly the great connection and shaykhis and ramkeit and warmth that he was involved with them. Then the yeshiva moved to Avenue J and Ocean Avenue, and that's when I joined the yeshiva. And I joined the yeshiva as my official title was executive director of the yeshiva. But nobody's just with an official title. You got to do what you have to do. And obviously, I was close to my grandfather. I had a schus, close to him. The truth is that I'm getting ahead of myself here, but Rabbi Miller, we had a unique relationship with him in that I don't remember, as a grandchild, I don't remember him ever telling me a joke. Or even a play on words, say things like nice things. That wasn't my relationship. Maybe when I was a kid, but I don't remember that. But when I was older, I don't recall him ever saying such things to me. Although to other grandchildren, he had different mahalach. Every child got what they needed because he himself was a person who didn't talk much. He talked about how to be said. So if it was needed to be said, he said it. And only one time I remember he came over to me once in shul. He came over to me and he said to me, he spoke to me always in Yiddish. And he said to me, Rabbi Yehuda, you have panosa? I said, yes. He said, okay, Baruch Hashem. And then he went away. That was the extent of the conversation. But there was no chit-chat. As a kid, when we misbehaved, so he did what grandparents do. I remember once we got a backhand from him. We sat in shul on the bench behind him, and I'm sure we were carrying on, and it wasn't his liking. And he turned around and he gave us a back with his back of his hand. Because of that, many times in my life, he asked me if I'm moichel him for that. I was a child then. So a child can be, but maybe he couldn't ask me that mechila, but he asked me numerous times from moichel him, and I heard from my siblings that I wasn't the only one who was zeicher to that, and also got the same question. The difference between me and anybody else was, I don't mean me as a grandchild, is that he had hours that was available for the public, but as a grandchild we were able to call. And if he was available, my grandmother would give the phone over and put him on the phone. Where other people had to wait for that hour, whatever, from 1 to 1:30, whatever the call-in time was. That's the only difference. But he was more accessible, but it wasn't like as a grown person. It wasn't. I could ask him questions, but it wasn't. He'd come visit. We respected his time. We understood that it was choshev.
Yeah, as a grandchild, you knew that your grandfather was a chashuv, a rav, a very prestigious individual, spreading so much Torah. You were aware of it?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I remember clearly when by the Levaya, the chief of police of that area, when we're discussing the coordination of the Levaya, he asked me we should be closed off Ocean Parkway. And I remember clearly saying, for who? And that was because in the family it was 80. And we didn't have this, how far-reaching it was, at the time, and when push came to shove, literally, they had to close off Ocean Parkway because 50,000 people showed up. So it was way above what anybody could have fathomed. I remember standing outside, going into Shiva, and somebody came in and said, he can't believe such a crowd came to the Levaya, such a crowd. And he told me, he said at the time that this is what Chazaq say, ha-berech min ha-kovid, so the kovid berech acharov. So all his life was berech min ha-kovid. And now when he couldn't run away, the kovid came right there to his door, and how many people came to, and we say this kovid, we say, oh, it's my honor. Thank you for the honor. That's covered. You're looking for covered when you're saying that. We say, oh, that's my honor, right? Thank you for the honor. That's covered. He never said something like that. But the point is that he wants my brother-in-law said over that he himself said that covered is something that he's working on his entire life. If you're alive, then covered is a motivator. And it could be used for the right things or the wrong thing, but it ain't covered el Torah. But anyway, this is the point that it's no matter how old a person is, if he thinks that if he passed the covered test, then he should do a retest. Because covered, as long as you're alive.
Right. Powerful. So the question, Rabbi Brog, is that so much of the Rav's Torah has been and continues to disseminate all over the world. Baruch Hashem, every week in the shul, I see the pamphlets, and Baruch Hashem behind the rabbi, there's the audio clips and the video clips that are constantly being disseminated and promoted. What credit do you think is due for it being so popular? There's so many tzaddikim, rabbanim, gedolim that have passed away. They've had their Torahs, but on a personal, I don't feel like the Sfarim and the books and the articles have been disseminated as much as Rav Avigdor Miller's itself.
So there's really two parts to that question. There's one part to the question is, what makes it so popular? Okay, so the Torah that makes it popular, that's the part we're going to answer. The Yeshiva put out a Pirush, an Rav Avigdor series, which is a Pirush on Chovos HaLevavos and Mesedes Yesharim. You might have seen it.
Yes.
It's very popular. Very popular. In fact, it just came out now in Lashon Kodesh. In Hebrew, our first volume is Chovos HaLevavos Shal B'tochen, just came out in Lashon Kodesh. And what makes those forms very popular is that if I can't talk about you, Rabbi Yaniv, but if I was going to write a pirush on Chovos HaLevavos, pretty much that's the pollution that you have out there today. I looked up in the Shia, or even if I heard a Shia on Chovos HaLevavos, I look in this pirush, I look in that pirush. We call it a kugel. And I'm putting a kugel together. Now, these might be platitudes that we would like to be holding by. We're not there yet. And we're going to be talking ideas that we saw, this idea, this pirush, that pirush, different ideas and concepts, and we're going to give over, and everybody's going to walk there. Wow, what a beautiful Shia on Chovos HaLevavos or Mesedes Yesharim I just gave. You might even wonder, is he holding by that level? Is he talking to somebody that he's aspiring to, he's trying to convince himself? And I think this is the key to Rabbi Miller's popularity. Rabbi Miller's message is so popular because what he says from his mouth, you understand it's coming from his heart. It's not a drosha, he's giving droshas. Things
that come out of the heart enter the heart.
So when you read the Pirush of Chovos HaLevavos and Rabbi Miller, or Mesedes Yesharim, or whatever you're hearing, you're not hearing a drosha he's giving. You're hearing his essence. That's coming out. That's him. That's how he lived his life. and it's coming out, you're hearing that. And when you're saying the truth, then that's the truth. I heard a story. The story didn't happen today, of course, but and the story, I believe it was with Rabbi Hillel David's old Gesundheit in Flatbush, the Rabbi Hillel David, and he had a son, I believe, that for some reason went to Seattle, Washington for something. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing there, but there was some ear show going on, and he met another Jew, a fellow Jew by the show, and he got to talk. And he said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Brooklyn." He said, "From Brooklyn?" The man said, "Oh, my rabbi's from Brooklyn." So he said, "Who's your rabbi?" He said, "Rabbi Avigdor Miller." He said, "Rabbi Avigdor Miller, you're a rabbi. How do you come to a rabbi in Brooklyn?" So the man said that he was a trial attorney living in Arkansas, and he was trained to ascertain when someone's talking, if they're talking the truth or not. And he said, he gave me a lecture of Rabbi Miller at the time. I got a hold of some lectures, and I listened to them. And some of the things I didn't understand what he was talking about, but one thing was clear, that this man believed in what he was saying. He was saying the truth straight from his heart, and that message was clear. And ever since then, I said, I was hooked. I became his student. I think that's the popularity of Rabbi Miller enjoys, in that his message is a very clear message. It's a clear message, and it's coming from, besides being clear, he's convinced. He's convinced about what he's saying, and it's convincing because it's coming from someone who's convinced. Another amazing added thing about Rabbi Miller's mahalach, his approach to life in general, was he always had he was a genius in stratagems. In life, you have to have strategy. Want to be successful, you have to have strategies for success. Without a strategy, it's not going to work. For instance, you're going into a meeting to buy a building, let's say, or to buy a business, or whatever it is. Or you got to know what you're trying to accomplish. And once you know what you're trying to accomplish, what can I do to break it down to small steps I'm starting at point one, and I'm going to end up at where I want to accomplish. And this was his key. His key was his message. All his messages are the same message. You can do it. It can be done. And he's giving you very simple strategies to do with very difficult things. But he breaks it down very simple for every person. And therefore, the message is popular because it's relatable. And and people are looking to steig, people are looking to grow and to reach that. After all, the neshama the soul comes from heaven. And as at Hasinai and Mount Sinai, we told Moshe, our desire is to see our God, our King. That's our desire. And that's why people are grappling. Once there was Rabbi Miller explained the Gemara says in Bava Kama that Maveh Zeh Odom. It's Abba, Ovas, Nazik, there are four major categories of damages: Hashor, an ox, a boar, pit, and then is Maveh. Maveh, Gemara says, what's Maveh? One opinion is Maveh means man. So why is man called Maveh? Because Maveh comes from the word into boyun, a seeker. If you're going to seek out, you'll find. So why is man called a seeker? A man is the soul of a person is seeking. He doesn't know exactly what he's looking for. So he gets up and it's that desire for seeking that actually causes a person to do damage, because he doesn't know what he's looking for. So he's trying to express himself in that search for finding what he's looking for. Here's, as the example the Rav gave, a man is at night sleeping in his bed, and he can't sleep. So what does he do? He gets up and he goes to the refrigerator. Okay. Now, was that the reason why he couldn't sleep? Of course not. That wasn't. But he's seeking. He doesn't know what he's looking for. So I'll go look in the refrigerator. Maybe he'll find what he's looking for. But really, his soul is seeking. What should you do when you can't sleep at night? Well, in Chavis Alav V'Shar B'Tochen, it says a beautiful idea. Over there, it says that when you can't sleep at night, it's an opportunity for his boidedus. It's an opportunity to become in solitude with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with Hashem. Mm-hmm. And while you're laying there in bed, you're saying, Hashem, it's only me and you together. Thank you, Hashem, that I have a roof over my head. Thank you, Hashem, I have a bed to sleep in. Thank you, Hashem, and go through all the things that you could thank Hashem that He's doing for you. And nobody has to hear this. You don't have to talk about it loud. You don't have to go in the other room, make noise and take out and bang on the table. No, it's between you. Solitude, that's how you use solitude. And on a personal note, you try that, guess what? You fall right to sleep. I'll tell you an interesting story about this. I remember the night before he passed away, so it was my turn to stay over in the hospital that night.
This is going back over 20 years ago.
22 years ago. He passed away on a Friday morning, so this was Wednesday night. Wednesday night. So, he was sleeping, and there was a chair there that whoever was there that night, usually dremeled off, whatever it is. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear rustling. I open my eyes, and I see that he has to go to the men's room. Goes to the bathroom, comes back to bed, makes a hashayotza, very deliberate, slow hashayotza. Now, Rabbi Yaniv, I don't know about you, but I know when I go to that scenario, I find myself in. When I go back to bed, I make my hashayotza, I put my head on the pillow, and out cold. And suddenly I hear Rav Avigdor talking, and he's saying, "Who would believe?" He said, "Such a batlin like me." A batlin means someone who is an unsuccessful individual. Such an unsuccessful individual like me should be able to do such good shidduchim for my children, such good marriage partners for my children. Who would have ever thought I can get such good marriage partners? I'm thinking to myself, this is a story 50 years ago. This is not from yesterday. 3 o'clock in the morning, he can't sleep at night. Why not? Because his mind is boggled down. How in the world, what did I do to get such shidduchim for my daughters? We don't remember that it happened yesterday. We're not excited about it. And it's 50 years later, he can't sleep at night. Why not? Because that's on his mind. How was I able to get such shidduchim?
Unbelievable. Wow. That's God, that's greatness. And the question for you, Rabbi Brog, is which chiddush or shir from all the shir that are out there from your grandfathers, that's Rav Avigdor Miller, do you remember most or give over the most or like to share? Is there any one that sticks out?
So the message, if there's one message that's going through all the lectures of Rabbi Miller, the most obvious message you come out with on any lecture you're going to listen to is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu exists in the world. That's the clear-cut message. Any message he gave was practical. In fact, one time he said that he didn't speak about the Shechina too often because the Shechina is not practical. I mean, it says you can't touch it. It's not something you could experience. It's an important concept, no question about it, and it's there whether you like it or not. But it wasn't something which he didn't talk much about the Shechina or esoteric ideas. It wasn't something that he communicated on his lectures because it wasn't practical. So any lecture that you're going to talk about from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from Rabbi Miller, had to have this aspect of it. The message was HaKadosh Baruch Hu exists. Now, and if it's this way or that way, the other way, and another message which always comes about is after Hashem created the world, Hashem said, "Vayar Elikim es kol asher asa v'hinei toiv."
Good.
Very good. It's good. No, he didn't stop there. He said, "Toiv ma'oid." It's very good. Now, if Hashem says it's toiv, it's already very great. Toiv ma'oid means what? Very, 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 and then some more varies because that's toiv ma'oid. And the question is, don't you think Hashem knew that it was very good? Why did he have to tell us that for? If he made it, and Hashem is all good, Hashem wants to do good, and he created the whole world was for chesed, so of course it's good. So why did he have to say that it's toiv ma'oid? And the answer is, Hashem didn't need it for himself. Hashem was telling it for us. That we should see that everything that I made out there, I made it for you, and it was for one purpose, for one purpose only. What is our purpose? That it should be good for you. For us, it should be good. That's what I call it. That's the message. Now that this message resonates in many different ways. A lot of people today are walking around with challenges, and they're grumpy, and they're not happy in life. And that's only because they're not focused on the fact that Hashem exists. And number two is that Hashem made this whole world that it's for our benefit. So that's the message. You look around the world. My mother should live and be well. She's always repeating this line, Ki simachtani Hashem before Alecha. Hashem, you made me happy with your deeds. You walk out in the street today, you see the flowers blooming, the lilacs, the daffodils, the roses are soon coming up. The world is a bloom. And everything is not just white. Everything is green, it's varied colors. When he would walk by the fruit stand, he would stop and like he was watching a lahavdil ben alfi avdolis, many great differentiations as if you went to a museum. You see a picture and everybody's, beautiful picture. Really nothing. He said it's nothing. A picture's nicer than a painting. Why? Rabbi Miller once said, why would anybody want a painting? A picture is much nicer than a painting. And here's you have the real things, the real things. And that beautiful is Hashem made for us. So we should enjoy it. We should be happy. And if you think about all the good things that Hashem does for us, we'd be very happy people because Hashem wants us to be happy. That's what he made it for.
Right, 100%.
That's the message that you have to keep repeating and repeating. Personally, on a personal level, one of the projects we were once working on, maybe hopefully get off the ground soon, was a project that people are going off the path of Yiddishkeit. It's a big struggle today. Big struggle. Now, I can't tell you now if it's more now than it ever was. Baruch Hashem, today there's a tremendous abundance of from a Yidden today. Years ago, the numbers were less, now more numbers. So just even if it was the same ratio, it's more people because there's more people today. But one of the reasons I believe is that nobody goes from 0 to 100. You go from very frum to irreligious in 1 minute. It doesn't happen that way.
It takes time.
It's a gradual thing. How does it work? The reason because it's not real. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not real to people. They say a joke that a man couldn't sleep at night. Why? Because he had, there was under the bed, there was boogeyman under the bed. So for years he was going to the shrink to deal with his problem. And then he stopped going. So the shrink meets him and says, how come? He said, David, we don't see you anymore. How come you stopped coming? He said, no, the problem is all healed. I said, really? How'd you heal the problem? So I went to my rabbi. And I told my rabbi, I can't sleep at night. There's a boogeyman under the bed. He says, so what's the problem? Cut the legs off. And then there's no room for the boogeyman anymore. A lot of people have the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the boogeyman. If you don't behave, you're going to get punished. And that's the focus. That's the wrong focus. If you don't behave, Hashem's going to encourage you to come back to behave nicely, to see Him. It's all the way you put things down. When we were growing up, Rabbi Miller always said, oh, Shabbos is fun. Yontif is fun. Having fun, he associated with fun. We have to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu back into our lives. That's the message. And the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu is real in your life, sometimes a person is angry at his father, but it's still his father. In stories when people came out of the Holocaust and they were angry at Hashem, in a certain way, they're more maimin than the other person because they believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They don't have the levels of Amunah, aren't properly coordinated, so they don't know what they think they deserve. They don't deserve what they understand Hashem is there. They're not atheists. Right. But we have to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu back in our lives. And you do that by opening your eyes and seeing all the good things. For instance, you ate matzah. Never focus on what you're doing itself, because that's trivial. That's only Chazaq gave us to do things, the mitzvahs and the Torah, to do things to bring about that awareness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you're eating matzah, you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he took us out of Mitzrayim. On the side note, you thank him you have teeth, because you don't have teeth, you can't eat matzah.
That's true.
When he went to the dentist once, he said to the dentist, I want to thank you for saving my life. So the dentist looked at him, saving your life? I only deal with teeth. So Rabbi Miller said, what would my life be without teeth? So he understood everything. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's everything you have. It's all Hashem. That's the message. And that's what people, back to the same thing. People want to be uplifted. People want to feel that truth. And when you plug yourself in to the emes, it gives people a cheshik. It feels they're alive.
Simchas HaChaim Foundation.
Simchas HaChaim. In fact, when after Miller passed away, we were thinking about making an organization here. And we were discussing with the Rosh Hashiva, Zatzal, Reb Shmuel, and we asked him, what if we had to make one word to summarize Rabbi Miller, what would that be? And he said, Simchas HaChaim.
That was actually my next question, Rabbi. Of the many qualities of Rabbi Miller, would you say sticks out? Is that what it is, Rabbi? Would you say it's Simchas HaChaim?
So really, that quality that came out there's a prat. There's a klal and a prat.
Right.
The klal was, he was extremely focused on what was important. That what is that? And that focus that he had is also a prat in the quality that he had. And that quality that he had is what's called the midah of ne'emonos, right. Being loyal. Rabbi Miller talks on a tape and he said, I believe that I heard this on a tape, that a person says, no, I'm not doing that because I don't feel it's for me. I'm not into it. That's not my thing. Really what he's saying is, I don't want to be loyal. Because the reason why we keep Shabbos, well, Shabbos is not my thing. Did your father keep Shabbos? Well, if your father kept Shabbos, guess what? You, as a sense of loyalty, that obligates you to keep Shabbos, whether you like it or not. This is because your grandfather stood at Har Sinai and said, Na'aseh v'nishma. That's why we have to be loyal to our traditions. That's why we have to be loyal to those traditions. And that loyalty to HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the one quality that Rabbi Miller's life was what drove his mission in life. You have to be loyal to Hashem. Whatever Hashem wants, you have to be an Eved. Moshe Rabbeinu was summed up as Moshe Eved Hashem. Eved Hashem means I don't have my own desires. Whatever my master wants me to do. And if now my master says I have to smile at people because it's a mitzvah to make people happy, so then I have to do that. By now my master says I got to do taig mitzvahs, I got to do my taig. That's what I have to do. Whatever I have to do. In fact, Nechaves Alovis, Rabbi Miller points out, there's no such thing as mitzvah. Most people think there's a mitzvah and avera and parav. That's what they think. This is not a mitzvah, not a avera, it's rishus. It's rishus. I don't have to do it. If I want, I can. No such thing. And avoiding Hashem is either a mitzvah or otherwise. If you have to do it, for instance, a person who needs a break from learning, that's not parav, it's not a rishus, that's a mitzvah. Because if I didn't take my break, in fact, I'll share with you a beautiful thought from the Chazon Ish, beautiful idea.
Chazon Ish, we just named their son, Avram Yishai. So.
Oh, he should grow up not less than the Chazon Ish.
Amen.
And so the Chazon Ish asked the question, Gemara says about certain Tanoim, that they wanted, the time was to be taken away from the world, and the Malach HaMavos was trying to reach them. So he might have make a distraction or something, and make a tree break or something, and they got him distracted, and then, so the question is the Chazon Ish, didn't they go to the bathroom? Didn't they eat breakfast? Didn't they sleep at night? They weren't learning in those times. So they had so many opportunities to take them away. Says the Chazon Ish, no. Anything you do, what your person does, because he needs that for his Simchas HaChaim, so he should be able to learn and focus on Avodas Hashem. That is Avodas Hashem. Mm-hmm. That's the Chazon Ish's word. So whatever a person does, when you go in the street and you're enjoying life, that's not a contradiction. To the contrary, Rabbi Miller points out in Chavis Alot Mishal B'Tochen, enjoying breakfast, enjoying that cereal, that oatmeal, that chewing on that bread, and appreciating that, whatever it is. Hashem wants us to have that pleasure, because that's what that an opportunity for us to show our gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's more opportunity to come closer, to get an awareness of Hashem, and to feel that we have to serve Him. A lot of people say, I love Hashem. I'm thinking about Him a whole day. I'm thinking about Hashem. But it's meaningless, because ultimately that love and thinking has to bring, so now I have to do something. I have to do something. What can I do? If the seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Hashem's ways and everything he did, the next shah in Chavis Alovis is avoid the tzadikim. Now you got to get busy. And if you want to get busy and avoid the tzadikim, the next thing you have to do is bitochen. Bitochen was if to avoid the tzadikim. And bitochen, we see from over here, that the greatest portion, chelik, of serving Hashem is really our machshava, our thoughts. And that's how he lived his life. He lived his life. In fact, he wanted to write a book that he didn't get to. He wanted to write a book, told me, of what all the thoughts a person should have in his mind from the minute he wakes up in the morning until the till he goes.
Oh, wow.
You weren't zoichet to that book, but you could find it. You could find it if you plug yourself into these messages.
How does one plug into this extra extreme? This is a special offer. Like, how does one get to all these?
So at Simchas Chaim, that this what you're seeing behind me is really a picture of what used to be called the iPod.
Yeah, that's like an olden days thing.
They don't make iPods anymore. The Tzahara saw that was too popular. It was being used for good things. So therefore, it went out of business. So now we have a different device that holds all the lectures in Rabbi Miller. And
everything?
All the lectures, almost 2,000 lectures. In fact, the new device even has the books on it that Rabbi Miller has. This I want to bring out an important point. It's not the same thing listening to a lecture or reading what you read. You mentioned the pamphlets that are out there weekly in the shul. It's a different thing. And this brings us back to the Kugel aspect. When you write, if I'm repeating a message that I'm going to repeat anybody's message, it's really my stick. I'm talking. My exaggerations, my emphasis, my tone, that's me talking. And therefore, I'm going to bring out things that excite me. If you have a dispensation towards, you like, for instance, canoes, things which look like zealotry. So you repeat that aspect of it, and you repeat it with exclamation marks and question marks, with excitement. But when you heard Rabbi Miller talk, he wasn't talking canoes. He was talking about Hashem, and he talked very calm. He wasn't all this because he didn't get excited. He didn't raise his voice. He could talk the most difficult topics out there, the most controversial topics out there, very calmly, because this was thought out in his mind, and it was just like a pasuk in Chumash. By him, this was clear ideas. The best way to hear the message from Rabbi Miller is hearing it in the original tone, not added with exclamation marks, so just hearing his message, hearing the message itself. When you hear the message was all based on Chovos HaLevavos. Someone asked him, how did you become so great? How did you become Rabbi Miller? So he chuckled and he said, I learned in Slobodka. Mm-hmm. So the man said, Rabbi Miller, a lot of people learn Slobodka and didn't become Rav Avigdor Miller. So what's your answer to the question? What's the answer to the question? So he thought about it and he said that ever since I came to Slobodka, a day hasn't passed that I haven't learned Chovos HaLevavos. So someone it means he looked in the Sefer. Doesn't mean necessarily he read the Sefer every day. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the ideas of Chovos HaLevavos he incorporated in his essence. And it's all based on Bechina. Bechina, I think he coined the phrase we say Shabbos morning, the davening, Kel Odom, and say, God loive tuvoi molei oiv. Now everybody says that, sings that, whatever, when you pit, it's like water off the dog's back. But he underlined those words, and that was his life. He saw in everything in this world, God loy, Hashem's greatness, and his wisdom, and tuvoi, his kindness. That means everything in this world, to him, was a symbol of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He saw that kindness. That's how he lived his life. That was the mess. So everything you hear from him is disseminating from that. That's the point. The point was he saw that greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that wisdom. And that's what Shema Yisrael, what does Shema mean? Shema means a name. What's a name? A name is with the vibes that the person gives off, the essence of a person. That's Adam Rishon gave names in this week's parasha to the birds. Some have the Zoche, some birds are called in the male, some come from the female. Why is that? So the Mepharshim explained because Adam Rishon understood the essence of the animal, and some more feminine, some more male. So that's why that's the name. Rabbi Miller saw the shame of everything. Everything in this world, we saw what's the essence. The essence is HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking to me for the purpose that I should have a good time in this world, for the purpose of being able to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the purpose of being able to be motivated in happiness and simcha in order to be able to serve Hashem. Because if you're not happy, you can't serve Hashem.
If you do Hashem is simcha, the importance of serving God with happiness. Rabbi Yehuda Brog, what an honor, what a privilege, what an amazing Torah talk we've had about the life and legacy of your dear grandfather, Rav Avigdor Miller Zatzal, on his 22nd yahrzeit. Rabbi, we have a minhag, a custom on Torah Talks. one final message. You've given over so many gems. There would be one more that you could share with our broad audience, Rabbi.
I think the great message is that plug yourself in, and you could live the same life he lived. And people say he was a genius. It was his business. When you go to the grocery store, sometime in a little grocery store, and you ask the storekeeper, how much does that can of peas? He says, oh, that's 79 cents. How about the ketchup? $1.29. How does he know? Did he look at his computer? How does he know the price of every item in the store? And he's not making it up because it's consistent. The answer is because it's his business. We all know that our heart pumps constantly. But how many times a day is it actually pumping? He once asked a man, how many stairs are there in front of your house? I don't know. He said, you go up every day to stairs. You don't know how many stairs? When you think about it, there's 8 stairs to your house. How many stairs is there in a landing? 9 stairs is a landing. How many buttons are there in your shirt? You button every day. How many buttons are there? Because it's not we're not important. But every button to him was the Chesed Hashem. Without a button, how are you going to close your shirt? Without a step, how are you going to climb? How are you going to get to where you have to get? It's not just another thing. Now this is the message. This is the one message that comes out. And you could hear that message too. Message could get yourself the lectures, read the books, the authentic books that are written from Rabbi Miller's lectures directly, not as where I understand it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's that you're getting his message. You're not.
What's the website to
simchasachayim.com, simchas SIMCHASHACHAIM, just the way it's simchasachayim.com, Simchas Publishing, and there's a big resource of material, of the original material, and with Hashem's help, we should be zeicha with the Tchias HaMeisim very shortly, and we should be able to put back the spice in life, enjoy life, but not distractions, but real enjoyment. And the greatest enjoyment is that Kirvas Alekim, coming close to Hashem through seeing Hashem in the world and seeing Hashem through His Torah.
Chazaq Rabbi Yehuda Brog Shlita. What amazing insights, what amazing chidushim, what amazing Torah, what amazing gems about the life and legacy of Rav Avigdor Miller. We want to thank everyone for joining us once again every single Tuesday night. Chazaq Torah Talks with special guests, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find it on all platforms of podcasts. We want to thank our friends at Torah Anytime for hosting the Chazaq Torah Talks. We want to thank Daily Giving. $1 a day goes a very, very far away. We want to thank an entire Chazaq staff and team. Hashem working Yom HaValad day and night for all these amazing shiurim programs, events. And of course, our main mission and focus is to inspire and to guide the thousands upon thousands of Jewish kids that are still in the public school systems. Baruch Hashem, thousands have already been coming to after school programs, Sunday school programs, teen division programs. Baruch Hashem, close to 1,500, if not more than 1,500 already been transferred to Yeshiva the last few years alone. Make sure to reach out to Chazaq. This is right now prime time for this new September school year. Check kids from public schools all over the country and all over. Baruch Hashem, we're working. And we want to thank Rabbi Brog once again. Simchat Zechayim, love the messages. And until next time, we should see the Gula with Tchias HaMeisim, and it should be B'mehera B'mein Espin in our days. Amen. Amen.